This is our video for Unit 5, Day 1. So in this unit we're going to be solving systems of equations. So in order to do that we're going to have to go back to what we did in Unit 3, where we were solving one equation at a time, and then go back to what we did in the second unit where we solved systems of equations. We first saw those and we solved them by graphing. So what we did in Unit 3 is we learned how to solve linear, and learned how to solve quadratic equations. Alright, there was two different process that we use to solve those two, so it's important that we can tell the difference between them and also know the different process. So for a linear equation, we have just regular x terms, what we call plain x. There's no exponent on x, on our variable. What that really means is that the exponent is 1. So in terms of how we solve that, first thing is we get all the x's on one side, then we get all the numbers on the other side, all the constants. And then we divide by the coefficient to solve. And another thing we saw every time we solved the linear equation is we got one answer. Alright, so quadratic was different. Quadratic, we saw we had equations that had x squared in it. Alright, so the exponent is 2 on the variable. So for this one we had a different process. This is where we started by putting it in standard form, which means set it equal to 0. And then we had a few different ways of solving it. We could factor, use the quadratic formula, or we even learned how to solve this by graphing. When we solved with quadratics, every time we solved it we got 2 answers. Alright, so we're going to do, down here at the bottom of the page, is we'll just do one example of each, and leave the other examples for you to try on your own. So I'm looking at number 1. First thing is to identify the type of equation. So look at it, x plus 7 equals 4x minus 5. Right, my highest power on x is x to the first, plain x, so this is linear. Right, what that means is these are the steps I'm going to follow. Get all my x's on one side, all my numbers on the other side, and then divide. So I might start by subtracting x from both sides. Then to get all my numbers on one side, add 5. And last step, divide by the coefficient number in front of the variable. And it's linear, so we get one answer. So that's a different process if we look at one like number 2, where we see the x squared, which tells us this is quadratic. Alright, now we're going to be following these steps. So my first thing is to put it in standard form, so I subtract 72. 72 doesn't have any like terms on the left-hand side, so I don't combine them with the x squared, don't combine with the x. It's just its own term at the end, it's a different kind of term. And this is where in Unit 3 we learn to look for our shortcuts. So we look at A, B, and C. After that, when A equals 1, that gives us a nice little shortcut for factoring. We look for two numbers that multiply to C and add break up my sets with x. I'm going to look for two numbers that multiply to negative 72 but add up to negative 1. So in order to multiply to a negative, I would need a positive and a negative. And to add up to the negative, I need the bigger number to be negative. So I think of my factors of 72. The ones that are going to work for this are 8 and 9. And that's a positive 8 and a negative 9. Since positive 8 times negative 9 makes negative 72, positive 8 minus 9 makes negative 1. Alright, our last step is we still have to solve this, so we split it into two small linear equations. And so again, we get two answers on the quadratic. Alright, so just for review, solving equations, all things we did in Unit 3. There's two more examples on the front for you to do, and 6 examples on the back. So make sure before you start solving, identify whether it's linear or quadratic so you know which process to follow. So what we're going to review now is back in Unit 2 when we started solving systems of equations. So what a system of equations is, a collection of two or more equations that use the same variables. Alright, so we can solve a system of equations by graphing and finding the points of intersection. This is what we did way back in Unit 2. Alright, in this unit we're also going to learn two more ways to solve a system using algebra. Alright, this is just to use something we've already learned to do something new. So first we're going to start by doing this graphically. So the first thing we have to do in order to do this is put both of these into slope-intercept form. So this is something that we practiced doing back in Unit 2. And just as a refresher, that means we have to solve this out for y. So now this is slope-intercept form. I'll do the same thing with the second equation. Alright, so once we have them in slope-intercept form, it makes it really easy to graph. Let's go ahead and graph these. So for the first line, I have a y-intercept of -2 and a slope of -3, which means I count down 3 and over 1 to make every next point, or I can go up 3 and left 1. Blue line has a y-intercept of +3. Slope is 2, so I go up 2 and right 1, up 2 and right 1. Once I run out of room, I can go down 2 and left 1. We can see right here where the intersection is. That's our last step. The answer is going to be our intersection as an ordered pair. So look, our intersection is right there, and that has the coordinates -1, +1. So that's our final answer. Alright, so the key with this is to remember all our different steps for graphing equations. So how it is that we graph different types of lines. So a couple things to remember, and I'll point these out down here, but I'll let you try these on your own. So we have y equals just a number. That's going to be a flat horizontal line. And if we were to have x equals just a number, that'd be a straight vertical line, up and down. Alright, so there's 4 more problems on the front for you to practice. Try some of these on your own, and then there's a whole bunch on the back to try. If you have any questions, just ask. If you need to look anything else up online, if you think maybe you can find a better video or some better resources, um, you can search for solving systems of equations by graphing. So work on the practice, make sure you're comfortable. Remember all these things we did back in Unit 3 with the solving equations and back in Unit 2 with graphing. So get some practice in. There's plenty of practice on both sets. Make sure you try some of these on your own.